I'm here with Mom Banerjee. She is the founding member and managing trustee of the Samriddhi Trust. Mom, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much for coming over.
Our pleasure. Mom, could you tell me what is the problem that the Samriddhi Trust is trying to solve?
Okay, it's actually a crucial and existing gap in the education system. We are trying to solve the problem of educating migrant population. So specifically people who are coming from the eastern part of the country, say UP, Bihar, Orissa, and they generally come to the emerging cities. So Bangalore is one of them, and we are also working in Delhi and Pune. So there's a huge influx of people who come from the states in search of work, and along with them nowadays the children also come. So when they come over here with their children, the children cannot seamlessly get into any running mainstream schools, either government schools or private schools.
Why?
Mostly because of language issue. I would say particularly in a place like Bangalore, if people have come who are Bengalis and Uriyas and Hindi speaking people, then it's very difficult for them to go into a Kannada medium government school. And neither they do know English, so the other option is also not an alternative for them. And the second reason is, of course, when they come here, I don't think education is in the top of their mind. It's basically they come here because they don't have land, they don't have work at their at their own places, native places. There is a third issue of looking after siblings. So if there's a family of 4 or 5 and the child is, there are children of 10-year-old and 5-year-old and 3-year-old, the 10-year-old is supposed to look after the 5-year-old and 3-year-old while both of the other parents go to work. The fourth huge issue is of transport. They live in places like this, which is cut off from the I would say the main parts of the city. Although it's very much inside the city, but transport is a big problem. They cannot believe in their children walking down, say, about a kilometer to go to a school. So I would say this is a complex problem of educating migrants, and there are thousands and thousands of them who are coming to the city. So our model is trying to help that.
And we're here at one of your Brit schools today. This is a very personal issue for you. How did the Samriddhi Trust start? Why did you start the Samriddhi Trust?
Okay, so I think I have to go back to my personal dreams. As a child, I always wanted to get into this social development area. And the day I got an opportunity, actually what happened I was in Bangalore, I was working for Intel. And we saw a lot of children near our house who were queuing up near a mandir for prasad, and this used to happen every day. So we got down and we could understand that the children would not go to school because say for an instance Tuesdays morning 11 o'clock they are in the mandir to have prasad, means they are not going to school. So we went over to understand what is the issue. And we tried to send these children to a government school because we were closely working with government schools from Intel. So there were a couple of volunteers who came over, and we convinced the parents and we sent those children to a government school, and we felt that we have done a great job. But after 15 days we found those same children back, and then we realized that the problem is a little deeper. You cannot force a child to a school. It has to actually suit the needs of that child. So we started a tailor-made system. We said, okay, let's look at their needs. So we started a multilingual kind of a school where we would deal with different languages at the same time through different volunteers and teachers, and a multi-level structure wherein the child do not fit in a particular class, but we start from the capability level he has and go up with it. So that's how it was started. Now, when I say started, we could not find a place. So we went to that same mandir where these children were coming, and we asked some space from them. They gave us a landing of a staircase. It's a small place with about 12 kids. I used to kind of take frequent work from homes and teach them. We used to get other volunteers to do the same, and slowly we kept a teacher, and this was all a personal initiative till August 2010. And by that time we have realized that in 1.5 years we could make some 4 children go to a mainstream school directly into class 4. So our model is come into a slum, enroll the children who are not going to school, prepare them over 1 year. You might have to compress 4-year syllabus into 1 year, because you are dealing with an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old kid, and he has to go to class 4 or 5 next year. So compress your syllabus, prepare him hard through a very rigorous program, admit him in a mainstream school with a proper admission system, and then handhold him for a few years more in the after school program.
So that working model seems to make a lot of sense, but it seems to be a very unique model where you would need to go into communities and talk to them about what you are doing and the problem that you are solving. What has that been like for you personally, sort of going into the communities and talking about what Samriddhi Trust could offer their children? Especially in the beginning where they didn't know a lot about the trust.
Right. I think I have to tell you the story of this kid. Her name was Sapna. So it was me who was going on the rounds, inside the communities, a similar community like this, what you see over here. And mother was cooking and the child was helping her. And so I said that, we want to enroll your child, so why don't you come over? She would have been barely 10, 11 years old. The mother literally shouted at me with her ladle and spoon, and said that just don't disturb us, go away, because her version is like this, that we have seen a lot of education and a lot of BA, MAs in our villages getting no work. Basically what I realized, as you asked me while working in the communities, is that see, we cannot impose our ideas on them. We have to empathize with their existing problems, try to be as close as possible to solve that. Maybe we cannot solve the entire issue, but just imposing our ideas on the community would not work.
You've overcome a lot of these challenges and you've got an incredibly effective working model going here. But there are other people with sort of similar dreams to yours who tend to get stuck on the funding issue. And to some extent, Samriddhi seems to have surmounted that to a large extent. Could you talk to me a little bit about funding? Where do you get the resources to do the work that you're doing right now?
Okay, I don't know whether we have been lucky, but we have worked hard for this. I don't think there's a lack of funds in the country. It's a lack of trust. And basically people are very cynical about whom to give, how much to give, where it will be utilized, whether there will be an impact. So if you ask me like how we had been able to manage, was by making people believe, first of all, in the cause, that there is a genuine issue with the education of migrants. Second, by showing them our dedication, by giving them our structure and model, which is showing impact. We have actually committed to our funding organizations or corporations, saying that we will not have more than 25% dropouts. We will definitely achieve 75% average attendance. We will definitely send about 50% of our children to a mainstream school. 50% of our children who are going to mainstream school will pass with 70% marks. So now these are tall promises. Now we have been able to give this because of our past experience. And the team is highly motivated. And on the first instance, when you go and commit, at your back end you have to deliver.
You talked about measurable change, and that's actually something that's part of your mission statement. And I was wondering, how do you measure this change when you're talking about individual lives, and you're talking about your work here, which is obviously fairly extensive, these 3 bridge schools, but also an individual child, right, like Sapna, like the people that you're trying to reach out. How do you measure this change for you personally?
Okay, now there is 2 different ways of change which you can measure. One is definitely qualitative, and the other is very directly quantitative. For instance, I'll give you the same example of Rocky, who is one of our first child who got into school. Now, as I told you, Rocky, when we found him, he was about more than 10 years old, illiterate in any language. He could barely speak his mother tongue. So today he speaks 4 languages at par: English, Kannada, Hindi and his mother tongue. He is considerably good with his mathematical skills. The best part of it is that today he can debate with us on issues like privatization, coal allocation, why Anna Hazare should do this or not do this. Today he has viewpoints. We are talking about an absolute illiterate child turned into an English speaking child with considerably good awareness, who will get into either college or some vocational skills later on. and quantifiably you improve their lifestyle for not only for himself, for the whole family. So if this is not substantial change, then what it can be?
And all this must be quite rewarding for you, right? Like, think about things, individuals like Rocky that you've worked with over several years. What kind of sort of personal nourishment do you get from this entire?
See, basically the work in itself is very rigorous and draining, because there are too many facets to it. Community management and engagement to resource mobilization, because you have to get the right set of teachers for you, and that's how it can run well. Getting funds, and then everyday issues like some child got hurt, some child is in hospital, some child did not get the bus to go to the mainstream school, so he's missing his exams. So every day, every problem is kind of really takes a lot of your time to handle. Now the inspiration part comes to me in the evening. These children who have been already put into mainstream school, they come back to us every day for after school program, and I personally take some classes. Like in our organization, the ethos is that every person takes classes, because the basic business is to deliver education. So we are all connected with teaching. Now when you take a class of a class 10th going child whom you have handpicked 4 years back from a slum who was picking rags, and then try and interact with him, and he asks you what is digital money and show me how it works. Yesterday it happened with me. That's the inspiration part, and that's why you can come back in the morning over here.
And what's the plans from here, Mom? You've got this bridge school set up, you've got a couple of others set up. What's the plan 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What do you want to do?
See, basically when we started this model, there was no strategy, there was no proper direction. We just started because as I said, that we found children who were not going to school. Slowly we have developed it into a model of bridge school, and we have made this working model work for us. So we are now confident that this is a scalable model. So right now we have about 3-4 bridge schools in Bangalore. We have one in Delhi and one in Pune. In the next 1 year, our plan is to set up 5 more bridge schools in Bangalore. We have already done a baseline survey and found huge slums which can yield about 1,000 more children in 5 locations. Within next 5 years, a very solid dream we are nurturing. None of the children in Bangalore would be out of school. So maybe we cannot do it alone, but then with various other NGOs, organizations, corporates, maybe we do a part of it. But together we are really dreaming that none of the children would be out of school, because today you and me are talking because you have been to a school and I have also been to a school. If you just imagine that you were not put in a school, I think the dream breaks there. So that's the dream.
That's true. Mom, for all your work, thank you so much, and thank you so much for your time.